Hey there, good looking people. It's your girl Patrice of Ready, Set, Go Consult. I am the CEO of Grants Works and the CEO of Ready, Set, Go Consult. That is an accelerator that teaches people with experienced people how to use their Seek to launch, build, and scale service-based businesses. So what's your Seek? That's your skills, your experience, your expertise, and your knowledge. We call that your Seek. Now, I'm going to talk today about the 5 things I did to close my first 6-figure consulting deal. So I do want to start off right off the bat and let you know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about 6 figures over 3 years, or 6 figures over 2 years, or 6 figures over a year and a half. I'm talking about 6 figures within a 12-month period. In fact, I'm actually talking about 6 figures within a 6-month period. My contract started January 2021, and then it went through June 30th, 2021. So I actually received those 6-figure payments, those individual payments over a 6-month period. So I'm ready to jump right into it, right? I'm ready to talk about the 5 things I did to close my first 6-figure consulting deal. So the first thing I did, of course, was I developed and refined my reputation. So one of the things I'm always trying to explain to folks is that your reputation is something that it's easy to mess up your reputation, and hard to claw it back, hard to, represent yourself, reconfigure the way that you show up in the world if you damage your reputation. So again, developing and refining my reputation, and not just my reputation, my company's reputation. I was a new company at the time, in business by a year by then. But by that time, I already built up some traction. People were starting to learn about me, about my expertise, and about the services that the company has to offer. The second thing I did is I put myself out there as a subject matter expert, a SME, right? So I tell folks all the time, if you know you got the goods, you've got the experience, you've got the expertise, you got the knowledge, you've got, the literal and, figurative pats on the back to, about the work that you've done in the workspace or in other environments. And hey there, self-care for success. Thanks for joining me, lady. So if you know that you have the goods, right? You're an expert, claim your expertise. Right? Claim it. Don't be afraid to claim it if you know you got the goods. You can actually do the work, and not just do a good job. You can do a very good job, right? Hey, hi there, lady. So that's one of the things as I said before, put yourself out there as a subject matter expert. As a matter of fact, if you go on my LinkedIn, the first thing I do is I describe myself as a federal grants management expert. Hey there, Cold Keys. Ain't no shame in the game. There, initially I was like, should I call myself an expert? But then I was told by several people, you are an expert. An expert isn't the person that knows all the answers. An expert is a person that has enough experience and expertise, and so that for whatever reason there is a challenge related to what their expertise is in, they can find the answer. And then not only are they able to find the answer, they're able to communicate that verbally in a written format to whoever they need to communicate it with. So you don't know all the answers coming in, but you can certainly find the answers. You can communicate the answers, and then you should be able to help whoever it is you're communicating it to implement whatever those answers are. So just wanted to talk about that. The third thing I did to basically close my first 6-figure consulting deal was I created samples of my work and did such a damn good job that all the samples that were out there in the ether, whether I shared a snippet of one of my webinars on one social channel, then and shared it in an email, because I started out with my email newsletter from the very beginning, even though I only had about 200 people at the very beginning. Everywhere I shared samples of my work, were the best representation of what our company can deliver. As a matter of fact, I tell folks all the time, everything you send out, do your best to make sure it is the best representation of yourself and of your company. I'm sure I'm not saying anything that surprises you. And then the fourth thing I did is I submitted a top tier proposal. So one of the things that I had one of my sister girls, like a good friend of mine, she was an executive VP of business development, and she had worked for a large government contractor. They do proposals all the time. I asked her to review my proposal. Like, basically because I did samples, I was doing these, free webinars demonstrating my expertise by doing these free webinars. And it's really a great habit to get into, because the more you do that, the easier it is to do things like host an IG live or launch a YouTube channel, whatever it is you want to do to kind of get yourself out there in terms of increasing your visibility. The more you get used to taking information, distilling it, and then communicating it in a way via webinar or some other another source, maybe even live speaking, the better you get in general at communicating your value in these kinds of environments and communicating your value to prospective clients. So yeah, I submitted a top tier proposal. Those samples were out there. Somehow this organization found out about my work and dropped an RFP in my inbox, y'all. That's how I found out about it, and submitted a really good proposal. Each one of these that I'm explaining, I have like some more bullets to provide a little bit more insight, a little bit more context. So then, of course, once I submitted a bomb proposal, then I got the contract, and then I made sure I created a 6-figure budget based on the deliverables, right? So I made sure from the very beginning I factored in incidentals, all these hidden costs that can sometimes pop up. So you want to make sure, and then of course there's a way you can structure the budget where your company retains most of the earnings, and you are able to better manage how much may go to a contractor, if that makes sense, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and start back with number 1, where I developed and refined my reputation. So here's where I break it down a little bit more. Number 1, all my content was consistent with who I am as a professional. So I didn't have videos out here with me doing some things that, I'm all about free self-expression, but there's got to be some consistency with the way you present yourself. So I made sure I did that. My personal business is my personal business. Sometimes when I'm engaging with my clients, they don't know I'm in Portugal. They don't know I'm in Barcelona. They don't know I'm in Mexico, because that's my personal business. So that's the whole thing about managing my reputation now. Is that a reputational damage, anything that I just described, traveling in these different places? No. I just make sure that line between who I am as a professional and as a service provider to them is very clear from who I am personally, right? Another thing that I did to develop and refine my reputation, and I highly recommend this is something that we ask folks to do in the accelerator. I had a bomb bio, really good bio from a course that I took. I took a course in 2020 that had me write down, they basically had an activity where I had to write down every accomplishment, everything that I've done in different spaces. I mean, a lot of us are used to creating resumes. A resume is really, it just scratches the surface of who you are, your accomplishments. I'm not even talking about just work-related accomplishments. Maybe you're, excellent at, maybe you're excellent at fixing a car, right? Or other things that you're really, really good at that typically aren't on a resume. But when you put all of your skills, all of your talents, all of your accomplishments in a document, it's good for a number of reasons. Number 1, when you're ready to put together a proposal, you have something to pull from. When you're ready to create a bio for a speaking engagement or something else, you got something to pull from. When you're ready to maybe amp up your resume, not just your resume for a job, but your resume for your business, because there are some proposals they want you to submit your resume, you already have that information to pull from. So just want to give you guys that tip. And then, understand and write down your seek. That's basically what I'm saying. Understand and write down your skills, your experience, your expertise, and your knowledge. So I'm going to go ahead and, flush out how I put myself out there as a SME, a subject matter expert. Number 1, as I said, I shared knowledge about my space. So if I'm, as I always tell folks, I didn't start out in federal grants. My background is in marketing. I used to manage marketing campaigns, both domestic and international marketing campaigns to India, Australia, all these different places. And then when my son was a certain age, I said, you know what, let me just kind of wind this back a little bit. I need to be here for him. I need to be here for my two daughters. I basically changed careers, went into the nonprofit space, learned about grants, learned about federal grants, took all those analytical skills and everything I was learning, stayed in that field for however many years, and then finally decided I'm going to go ahead and start my own consulting business. So sharing knowledge about my space is something that I highly recommend that you start doing in whatever way feels comfortable to you, right? So Cold Keys, do you do one-on-one consults? Yes, I do do one-on-one consults. As a matter of fact, tell me what you do, right? Self-care for success. Let me know what you do, because I'm here to answer questions too, not just here to, just keep talking, but I do want to make sure I get through the 5 things that I did to close my first 6-figure deal. So hosted free webinars with 4 collaborators. A lot of people, while you go ahead and give me your questions, I'm going to go ahead and tell you something that I think is really, really important. A lot of people think I'm a consultant in this space, she's a consultant in this space, and therefore we are competitors. Yes, and you may be competitors, but you can also find ways to collaborate, right? So maybe you can go in together on a proposal. Maybe I'm really good at A, she's excellent at B, and this large corporation is looking for somebody that can do A and B. And y'all have your discussion, put together an agreement, a written agreement saying we're going to go after this thing. This is how much we're going to go after, and this is how much this is what you'll do, and this is what I'll do. Do you see how you're able to get a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 contract? Because instead of going in with a half-baked proposal, you're going in with a full proposal based on an existing collaborative agreement with somebody else that has some of the skills that they're asking for. Right? So hey there, Victoria, the CEO. Nice. I'm so glad you joined me. I'm sitting here talking about the 5 things I did to close my first 6-figure consulting deal. And I just went ahead and talked about step number 2 that worked for me. I have some steps here for y'all. These are my steps based on my experience, but I have some more. I don't want to use the word generic, but I have some other informed recommendations based on the years I've been in business that I know can be applied to different folks. So I shared nuggets of information. Now, the third thing, as I said, is I created samples of my work and did a damn good job, right? I hosted free webinars. Every time you create a free webinar, what does that require you to do? You got to make sure you got your work done. You got to create outlines. You've got to figure out how to communicate it in a way so that no matter who's in the audience, they can understand and follow you. You got to design the webinar. You got to proof it. Then you got to deliver it. Do you see how many skills you are improving each time you do a webinar? You understand what I'm saying? So, those free webinars help the people who are attending, but they're also helping you get better at public speaking, get better at communicating, sometimes complex information, get better at designing slide decks, making sure that you're communicating in a written format very well. So, hosted those free webinars. As I said, someone saw my webinar and dropped the RFP in my inbox, and of course, I responded and got the contract. Another thing I want to point out is that when you create samples of your work, you're creating momentum in your business, right? Not only are you creating momentum in that people are, there's almost like a ripple effect. People are learning. It may be a little bit of people at a time, but eventually they start to see samples of your work and start to learn. More and more people start to learn about who you are. And that's always a good thing. It's better to create momentum by offering those free webinars, and obviously you share the what, you don't share the how, right? When you do your webinars, you share the what, never the how, because why would they hire you, right? So just remember that. Submitted a top tier proposal. Like I said, each one of these is just me breaking it down further. I got help. I had a sister friend who had that expertise. And then here's what was so interesting. It was almost divine, right? I believe that we are all divine. I won't even call it almost divine. It was divine. Here's the thing, because I've been doing those free webinars, don't forget to drop the questions. Because I've been doing those free webinars, and what did I start doing? I got the sense, Patrice, why don't you record these webinars? You never know. Go ahead and start recording these webinars. Recorded the webinars. Guess what that proposal asked for? Video snippets of my training. Do you see how it was so divine? Because again, y'all, I was a little bit over a year in business, had just been doing those free webinars to get my name out there. This was 2020. All kinds of things were happening. We were dealing with death destruction, uncertainty. But I decided that I was either going to allow this situation to cripple me, or I was going to use all this activity and the momentum to keep me motivated, to keep me going, even as the world seemed to be like crumbling all around me. But the fact of the matter is that proposal required samples of videos. So you may have had other people that submitted proposals, but they may not have had those video samples. Or if they had samples, it's something they had to create at the last minute. I actually had several video samples to include in my proposal, uploaded those things and kept it moving, right? And as I said before, I created a realistic 6-figure budget. I know not everybody knows how to create budgets. I have that expertise and experience from creating budgets, multi-million-dollar budgets at, universities, grant budgets, million-dollar budgets, and monitoring million-dollar budgets. So I had that expertise. But the bottom line is, if you don't have it, reach out to someone who does. Maybe you know someone who's an accountant and say, hey, I got this contract. They're awarding me $150,000. Here are the people that I know I'm going to need to probably subcontract with. I want to make sure that I can pay them a fair price, but at the same time, I need to maximize my earnings, maximize how much I get to bring home and keep, right? And so what does that mean? That means you need to be nimble enough to get the quotes, because they gave you a very little time to create that budget, right? You have to be nimble enough to get the quotes, know exactly who you're going to need to work with, and resourceful enough to create a good budget that includes, again, hidden costs, incidentals, all the other things you want to make sure that you cover yourself for. Also factor in, what is and I never ask people to charge an hourly rate. When you're creating a budget, though, you need to be able to tie it back to how much you're going to be, charging by the hour for your time. And so, of course, I'm not using the hourly rate that I may do for other work. I'm going to use a different hourly rate. Wink, wink. You know what? Y'all know what I mean. So I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to go into some things that I think will be very, very, that can apply to you. My situation is different. Like I said, everything just seemed to almost come together. There are a couple of things to consider. Number one, and this is for you if you're interested in, not if you're interested, more than likely you are interested in getting your first 6-figure consulting or other service, whatever other service you offer. As a matter of fact, why don't you let me know what you do? Cold Keys, still waiting to find out what you do or what you plan on doing. Victoria, the CEO, would love to learn what you're doing. And, maybe we can make this as interactive as possible. And of course, self-care for success. So here's some things that you definitely want to do when you're going after your first 6-figure contract, right? Number one, as I said before, this is 6 figures within a 12-month period. I'm not talking about 6 figures over 15 months, 6 figures over 24 months, because, let's say the contract is $120,000 over a 12-month period. That's $10,000 a month. That's great. But imagine, but over a 2-year period, that's $5,000 a month, right? I'm in HR right now looking to go into HR consulting. Excellent. Because, and I'm sure you know this better than I do, HR consulting, especially when you're talking about being able to consult in this new hybrid workplace that everybody's talking about, is it's amazing right now. I'm sure you know that. So here's another big HR specialty that's taking off, and that is folks that can help with layoffs. If you're an HR consultant, you can advise a company on how to lay off their staff in a certain way that's compliant, whatever it is. That's not my space. That unfortunately is something that's increasing. Now, I'm gonna pause here, y'all. I definitely want to go in here and talk about these 5 things you can do to get your first 6-figure contract. But y'all need to understand that AI is a real thing. AI is going to come take a lot of people's jobs. I must have gotten disconnected. I have recently launched a consulting firm that specializes in strategic planning and operations management. Excellent. Hey there, Raising Hope. So glad you came. So strategic planning and operations management. Cold Keys, here's what I want to know. Strategic planning and operations management in what field? Because when you say strategic planning and operations management, that could be a number of areas. So if you say, okay, strategic planning and operations management in IT, or maybe construction management, or let me know the industry. But yeah, I mean, it's, so I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. So For those of you who don't know, I'm hosting a client attraction masterclass starting tomorrow. It's tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday from 6 to 7:30. You can get the information from my link in bio, 6 to 7:30 Eastern Time, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. So what we're going to be talking about is how you can grow your business, get those 5 and 6 figure clients, not just the 5 and 6 figure one-off clients. One of the things that I teach and that I actually practice in my business is you want to get a client that is a client that renews and continues their services. I'm going to give you an example of how I do it in my business. You're going to get clarity on your perfect customer and their pain points. And what I'm going to explain to you will help you understand how knowing what the customer is and their pain points will help you get a client that stays with you, because you're going to design services that is basically kind of goes through the cycle of a certain business activity or a function. I'm going to give you some examples. You're going to charge, basically align your prices with the services. With the value you provide. Not just, okay, I need to create this report. It's going to take me 8 hours. I charge $150 an hour, and therefore I should charge $1,200. No, you are going to look at that report, determine what your client gets in terms of value, and then charge accordingly. That report may actually be valued at $7,500, $10,500, $20,000. I always tell the story about when I first started. I had a client that was based in the UK. I didn't know no better. I proposed a price that was under $1,000, y'all, for a report that by the time I was done writing that report was probably about 15 pages, had all kinds of breadcrumbs and all kinds of, business names they could reach out to, universities doing research in their space. As I'm describing it, can you hear all the breadcrumbs, all the things, all the subcontractors they can go, they can go ahead and establish business relationships. And I'm listing these companies in Kenya, South Africa, Thailand. I'm listing all of this in this one report, and I charged under $1,000. Do you know that report I could have easily charged $20,000 for that report because of all of the value that was in that report? You see what I'm saying? So I just wanted, hey there, Erica Harrell and Miss Erica Shaw. So y'all see what I'm saying now? That is an excellent example of not charging according to your value. But I was less than a year in my business. I didn't know any better. But that report is a 15 to 20, that's a 5-figure report, trust and believe, because that was all full of all kinds. I'm getting dramatic thinking about it. It was full of all kinds of nuggets, all kinds of breadcrumbs. But you live and learn. So, and as a result, I don't make that mistake. And that's one of the examples that I always use when I teach folks to make sure that they're charging according to the value, that product, that report, that deliverable is to the client, not how much time it took for you to do it. And it took me a lot of time. Even if I had calculated based on time, I should have at least charged $2,500, right? Or something like that. But certainly not under $1,000. I didn't know any better. Hey, that's it. It's a painful memory, but it is what it is. So here are some of the things that you can do to launch your first 6-figure deal. Number 1, know your customer. People say this all the time, and I know it sounds cliche. It is so true. Here I am, almost 4 years into business. I finally figured out my perfect customer. I've sold to different kinds of organizations, to universities, to private sector companies such as medtech firms that have federal grants. And of course, I've sold to nonprofits. When I first launched my business, guess who my market was? Nonprofits, because that's all I knew were getting grants. Yes, I knew research. Universities got them too. Universities actually get billions and billions and billions of dollars from the federal government to do research, and is funded via grants. So Johns Hopkins, the MITs, the Georgia Techs, all the universities, including sometimes community colleges, get a lot of money from the federal government in the form of grants to do a lot of research. Anyway, so I finally decided to sit down, now that I have a team and had the time to do it, and really analyze who are the people that are buying my services, who's cutting the check, who's signing my consulting engagements. And you know who they are? They are CFOs. And they're executive VPs of organizations. Thank you so much, Raising Hope. They're executive VPs of organizations. They're the people making the decisions. They're the ones I'm sitting up at night knowing that, oh man, oh crap, we got this, $25 million in federal grants and we ain't got nobody managing them grants. Do you see? They're going to be much more aware of that than a middle manager, or certainly anybody that's actually, maybe another person within the organization. That CFO understands the risk of not managing their grant well, the risk to the company, the risk of losing the grant. So just want to give you guys some insight. So definitely know your customer. So not only know your customer, know what happens to your customers in different scenarios. So for example, right now, people are talking about how the economy is going through some things, right? But there are certain customers that are going to do well, regardless of what's going on in the economy. You know who they are? They're going to be hospitals, they're going to be government agencies, and they're going to be universities. Why? They got budgets that created, first of all, just think about that. There are a number of reasons why, but those are, just think about it, right? So I'm not sure who your target market is. But those are the things you want to think about. Know your customer in terms of your perfect customer, but also know how shifts in the economy can impact who that perfect customer is. All right, so I'm going to leave that there. Yeah, thank you, Cold Keys. Know your worth and charge accordingly. I already gave you all that example of not understanding the worth or the value of what I was delivering for this client. And as a result, charged, I'm ashamed, I'm not even going to say it again, charge way too little. Do your homework to fully understand the cost, the hidden cost, the cost overruns. So say, for example, you submit a proposal. In your head, it might cost about $85,000 for you to have a decent profit, for you to pay that subcontractor. But you know what? There's probably going to be some incidentals. Go ahead and just add $10,000 to that, right? There's probably going to be some hidden costs. The client may say, we need to extend this by 3 months. So you just got to factor that in. You also want to get an idea of what their ceiling is. So if you're thinking 85, can you stretch it to 105? There you go. There goes your 6 figures. You see what I'm saying? Hey there, big brother. Thanks for joining. So you see how you got your 6 figures? Now, again, we want 6 figures within a 12-month period, not six figures. Oh, now, for whatever reason, your first contract is 6 figures over 15 months. By all means, go for it. I just want you to know when I'm talking about 6 figures, I'm talking about something that I get within a 12-month period. Again, in my first example, it was a 6-figure contract from January 2021 to June 30th, 2021. I had 6 months to create a 3-module dual language federal grant management training series for a very large foundation. And they got that grant and they got the funding from a federal agency. Guess what? That federal agency now has over 344 people who have taken that training in Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, and Guam, and in the United States. I had somebody from Texas reach out to me because they said they saw my training, because I made sure my face was in that training. I made sure the name of my company was in that training. Okay. I made sure I was, where I could, I made sure the name of my company, right? How many clients did you work for in the beginning when it was just you? Ooh, girl, raising hope. I don't know if I'm sorry. I don't want to assume you're a girl, but, or a female. So I would say, man, about 7 clients. And it was tough, right? Because here's another reason why it was tough. I teach you all this in the Client Attraction Masterclass. Be very careful about the services you decide to roll out with. When you first start, please. Here's why. Because one of the things y'all need to understand, every business owner is always learning, right? Some of the top business owners in the world are still learning. And obviously I'm still learning. So here's what I learned recently. Some of the services I was offering were very, very challenging for a sole proprietor. Now, had I had a team, it would be different. I'm writing these, 40, 50, 60, 70, yes, even 80-page reports. I had a very large organization. Y'all know the name. They're a national nonprofit. And I did this work by myself. I did what's called a compliance analysis or compliance. Yeah, so basically it was a compliance. It was basically a gaps analysis of their organization, of their processes, of their procedures, of their budgets. It was too much. And I did all of that by myself. I'm not offering that service anymore. I undercharged for it. That was in, maybe 2021 as well. But even though I can now charge $40,000, $40,000 easily for a large organization like that, considering all the documents I had to review. It's even at $40,000, it's my time is worth more than money. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? You know, when you have services that are too complex, you kind of do yourself a disservice. But, you know, I can go into a lot more about that. But here's the other thing you want to need, like I said, understand those costs, the hidden costs, the cost overruns. Here's another thing. If for whatever reason getting that six-figure deal is, it's out of reach, but you know you can reach six figures, or maybe you can get another service with the client, stagger the deal. Like maybe they're at the end of their 12-month budget period and you're in the last 3 months, you know their fiscal year is from July to June. And you done signed a client in, let's say, February, March, and you know they ain't going to spend six figures with you between now and the end of their fiscal year. Propose something where in the first 3 months they pay you $45,000. And then the first 9 months of the next fiscal year, you put in, you know what I'm saying? And let them know you're willing to work with them. Hey, I'm willing to work with you. I see your fiscal year is ending soon. You know, here's one of the things that I can do, blah, 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 blah. Thank you so much. So that's how you just think about that. So I said earlier I was going to give you all an example of how I make sure that the services kind of have legs, that they grow. So one of the things that I did, and I am so glad that I did, is I offer training as one of my services, right? I don't know, I can't remember the other person's name, Cold. I don't remember your name. I'm so sorry, but training. So say a client comes to me, they want me to provide general grant consulting, right? That's me meeting with them 6 months, 3 months, really advising them on how they can, modify their operations to be able to manage a grant. Let me give you all an example. So you have an organization, large nonprofit organization with multi-million-dollar budgets. They've always had large foundation grants. All of a sudden, they got 12, 15, 20 government grants. That's a whole different system, right? So they have to be able to modify their internal system. So long story short, let's say they start with me for 6 months grant consulting. The next thing is what? Training. Exactly. Culture consulting, training. There we go. Raising hope. You see what I'm saying? Make sure training is a part of what you offer, girl, because, again, I don't want to assume that you're a girl. Because what happens is it's the consulting, it's some other services you may offer. And then the latter part of that arrangement could be the training. Oh, y'all know this great stuff now. I done set y'all up with these great systems and processes. Let me go ahead and train your team. You see what I'm saying? So that's how you can extend the lifetime value of each of your clients. So, and then keep the customer. That's actually the next thing on here. How to keep the customer. I just gave you all that. And then make sure you demonstrate value with every touch point. I cannot say how important this is. That means with your first conversation with them, when you send that onboarding email, when you have your kickoff meetings with them, when you have your offboarding meeting, whatever it is, every touch point is going to demonstrate value. You're not sharing information in every touch point, but you're basically making sure that relationship building is top of mind. So I had a client yesterday was the last part of our current engagement, but they're currently kind of simmering over a consulting, a proposal that they basically asked me to submit a proposal to expand our services. Monday was the last day of the first part of our engagement together, right? And Monday was the last day of a 3-module training that I offered to 33 people on their team. And this was live training, it was all good. It was sweet. So what did I do? I made sure, earlier today's Tuesday, sent them a really nice survey, not the survey of our client services. That's a different one. Make sure that their staff has a really nice survey to provide insight. I sent her the list of all the attendees for each of the 3 modules on the 3 different days. So all of those little things that they may not expect, it's just a way to say, hey, I'm here, and I make your life easier. And oh, by the way, I'm still thinking about that other deal that I proposed to you. So it's just, that's what I mean by making sure you're demonstrating value with every touch point. It takes us a little bit of time. Like for me, my executive assistant's on vacation this week, so I had to actually go into Jot form, or is it whatever form it was, create like a 12 question survey. And that took me all of about 40 minutes, and it was 40 minutes worth it, because now I'm not just using that survey for this particular client. I can tweak it and use it for other engagements where I'm training clients and their staff. So just some thoughts. How do you join the masterclass? So to join the masterclass, go to the link in bio, go to the Ready, Set, Go Consult IG page, click the link in bio. It's going to be the first item at the top on that landing page. And just follow the steps. It's a very couple of clicks later and you're registered. And then you're going to automatically get a confirmation that you've been registered. And then of course, what we're going to do is email you the link so that you can join us tomorrow from 6 to 7:30, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. And I give even more details. I mean, sometimes I have to reel myself back in so I don't share all the deets. I don't want to share all the deets in my lives, right? But yeah, number 7 is get those repeat customers. The other day I shared how what we do at the end of every client engagement, right? And so that's something that we will go into details about. But this client attraction masterclass, as I said before, we're going to help you get clarity on your perfect customer and their pain points. Remember, I just found out who my perfect customers are, CFOs, right? And what are their pain points? The risk of their organizational damage if for whatever reason it turns out they've been doing some fraudulent things with the grant funds, or things that had to do with misuse of those grant funds because their team was uninformed and uneducated about how to manage these taxpayer dollars. You're going to learn how to align your prices with the value of your services. You're going to learn how to position yourself to attract other businesses. I didn't even touch on that today, right? You learn, so that's something that I want to make sure that you all are very, very aware of. You can attract other business opportunities. You may start out consulting, but before you know it, other opportunities are coming to you. I want you to be ready to be able to take advantage of them, right? And how to build, streamline, and automate systems to better serve the clients that you do have, so that you're managing your time better, and you have automations in place so that you're not spending your time stopping to do one thing so you can go respond to this prospect over here. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Daisy. Oh, hey there, Dr. Daisy. So I'm sorry you're joining me towards the end. I was just giving up the deets on the 5 things that I did to close my first 6-figure consulting deal. That consulting deal was from January 2021 to June 30th, 2021. It was for a very large foundation who got the funding from a well-known federal agency. That federal agency they've been able to more than accomplish what they wanted to do, which was to be able to train their grantees to be able to manage those federal grants, specifically grantees in other parts of the world, Puerto Rico, USVI, Guam, right? But then there are grantees and public health officials in this country taking that training. That training is now rated 4.5 out of 5 stars by over 344 people as of April 17th. So I kicked butt on that contract. I forgot to tell y'all, they came back in 2022. They came back because you know why? They wanted me to convert the training, translate the training from English to Spanish, because the idea is that Spanish is going to be more adaptable no matter whether the trainer is in Puerto Rico or somewhere in Latin America, or maybe a Spanish speaking person here. So you do a really great job, they come back. That second one wasn't quite 6 figures, but it was very, 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 very close to it. But I just wanted to give you an example of how you could get repeat customers when you do a very, very good job the first time, because you're showing value with every single touch point. So I'm going to stay here just in case y'all have a few questions. Yes, please watch the replay. I've been enjoying myself. Not only did I list the 5 things which are developed and refine my reputation, put myself out there as a subject matter expert, and I'm encouraging you all to call yourselves expert if you know you have the expertise. Don't call yourself an expert if you don't really know, if you're not really an expert. But if you are an expert, don't be afraid to call yourself an expert, right? Because nobody's going to call you an expert or identify you as an expert unless you do it for yourself first. The third thing I did was I created samples of my work, and it was kind of going out into the ether, and people found out about it. And before you knew it, I had an RFP in my inbox. I submitted a top tier proposal. That's the fourth thing. And then the fifth thing was I made sure I created a 6-figure budget based on the deliverables, but also one that was friendly to me and my revenue goals. So, and then of course I spent some time going into some more details. Join me tomorrow, y'all, for that Client Attraction Masterclass. I'm looking forward to it. As y'all can tell from doing these webinars for all these years, this is one of my sweet spots. I love doing this, and I really look forward to sharing more of what I know. Sharing more of what I know tomorrow. And I'll be recording each of those sessions. And so once you register, just know that you will also have access to the recordings, and so you'll be able to rewatch them as well. All right. So I really enjoyed this, y'all. I really, really did. Get that link in bio, please. Check the link in bio to register for the Client Attraction Masterclass, and share information with any other friends or colleagues that you know are launching either consulting businesses or other service-based businesses and want to learn how they can attract clients, have the systems in place, know their perfect customers, and then of course charge accordingly. Don't make the mistakes that I made. All right. All right. Thank you so much, Raising Hope. Thank you, Dr. Daisy and Glow. And I didn't get, I think I can't remember the other couple of people that joined us, but thank you all. Watch the replay. I was having ball. I was giving up the deets. Take care now.